Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Living from Sunday to Sunday podcast. I am your host, Pastor B. My mission is to help strengthen your walk with God and to help navigate that walk with God 15 minutes at a time. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I believe that real change happens in between Sundays. So please take a moment and like this podcast, subscribe and share it with all of your family and friends. Of course, his podcast is available everywhere where they may be found. So, one of my favorite artists is Ty Tribbett, and he recently did a Tiny Desk, and he had a six-song set, and it was really, really, really um, impactful. But one of my favorite songs from his most recent release is called "Only One Night Though." And the main hook of the song says that weeping may endure for a night, but only one night though. And the reason why I think it strikes a chord with me is that many times, um, whenever we choose to be sad, whenever we choose to be upset, whenever we use any type of an emotion, a lot of times there's not a dictation or a level of control that we utilize when it comes to our emotions. When something makes us sad, for some of us, it can last forever. Like we can be upset, we can be angry at a person for 30, 50 years. Um, or we can be sad about a loss of a family member, sad about losing a job, the result of a failed marriage, and that weight of sadness and disappointment sometimes can carry and linger for days and days and weeks on end. But this particular song emphasizes the fact that emotions are not designed to control us. They're basically temperature checks, right? It allows us to sense where we are and for us to gauge the environment around us. But we have the ability internally to not to let what's happening on the outside dictate what's happening on the inside. And so this particular song made me think about a term called emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is simply the ability to understand, identify, and manage one's own emotions, as well as the emotions of others. The ability to manage our emotions is a fundamental key to us having peace and to us having prosperity in our lives. So, Proverbs 12 and 25, it says that anxiety weighs down the human heart, but a good word cheers it up. And living from Sunday to Sunday, we are faced with the realities of life. We're faced with the highs and lows, the disappointments. We're faced with sometimes our expectations of others and even of ourselves is really, really high. And whenever our friends, our family fail to meet those expectations, we can be disappointed. Sometimes, if it costs us something, we can be upset because we feel that we've wasted resources or we've wasted time or we've connected with someone from a we've given somebody our heart, our affection, things that's precious to us, and the other person wasn't as responsible and respectful of what was valuable to us. And so, like I mentioned earlier, that type of hurt, that type of intimate pain can be difficult to overcome. And those who don't have um, this type of intelligence to manage their emotions usually live their lives through their emotions. So in their conversations, they sound hurt, or they are projecting the pain that was caused on them onto other people. And I think it's really, really important that we learn how to manage the emotion. We'll never ever be able to get rid of how we feel. We will always be fearful. We will always have moments um, where we can be sad, or things enrage us and get us angry. But the question is, how quickly can we go from our anger, our hurt, our sadness and disappointment? How quickly can we go from that point to a point of recognizing that this particular emotion, this particular feeling doesn't have to last all day? It doesn't have to um, overtake my mind, because it's difficult. Like the word says for us um to rejoice at all times. I rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I say rejoice. The always part of that scripture is, it can be difficult because, again, like I mentioned, how am I supposed to rejoice when I'm fired from my job? How am I supposed to rejoice when the bills that I don't have enough money to pay for that, right? It's a conscious choice. With every experience that we live through, we have to choose how we're going to respond. And it's easier to do that when you have trust and faith in the Lord that this too will pass, that the failure in life is not final, that the failed relationship or the heartbreak of a loved one, that God has the ability to heal not only your heart, but restore your peace and restore your joy and give you a new um, outlook on life, to be able to trust again. Um, because emotionally, it's easy for us to vent. It's easy for us to yell. It's easy for us to um, to release emotions in a um, random way. But processing emotions take time. Processing how I'm feeling, why I'm feeling a certain way, and the impact of my feelings is a critical point of us growing emotionally. A lot of times we get in trouble whenever we're led by our emotions. If something feels good to us, um, not everything that feels good is good for us, right? Sometimes, whenever we're led by how things feel, then what feels bad, we don't always like to feel bad. So we will try to do everything we can to keep from feeling bad. And we make poor choices, right? We sometimes we try to escape how we feel by getting addicted to vices, right? Getting high, drinking, hanging out with people who only tell us good things about ourselves and never hold us accountable for our actions. These are the different things that um, they can tell us whether or not we're being led by our emotions, because our feelings, again, are just temperatures um, that let us know what's happening in the world. And I truly believe that trusting in God and sitting with your feelings and asking Him to help you navigate what the next thing, right? The next morning. So weeping endures for a night, Joy comes in the morning. How do I go from weeping to joy? Part of that is just going to sleep because the joy is coming. It's easy for us, and I think we sometimes want to stay awake, worrying about the next morning, trying to figure out how I'm going to make it past this moment. This moment seems so hard. It seems um, like the worst thing that could ever possibly happen. But when we rest in Jesus, when we rest and give our cares, when we cast our cares to Him, He says that He cares for us. And how does He care for us? By taking on the burden of guilt, the burden of shame, the burden of disappointment, the burden of anger. All of these true emotions are not. We are not designed to carry them all the time. There's a limit to your strength. There's a limit to what you can bear, and it's important that that you send those things to the Lord and let Him carry them. Let Him bear those burdens for you, because I truly believe that the ability again to be aware, to be self-aware, that man, I've been mad at this person for 25 years. Why is it every time that I come across this person, my body tenses up and I feel stressed? It's because the truth of whatever the point of offense is, you've never actually sat with that and figured out what happened, or you've never um, chosen to move past it. Now, hurt is real. Moving beyond the point of hurt doesn't negate the fact that you were hurt. It doesn't state that that person should be quote unquote let off the hook for what they did. However, when you forgive someone who has hurt you, what you're basically stating is, I am not allowing you to burden me with your error for the rest of my life. I've been holding on to this grudge. I've been holding on to this offense. I've been holding on to the anger that I have toward you. And me forgiving you says, I'm not going to allow you to do that to me anymore. So that when I think about you, all of that rage and pain isn't the first emotion that I feel. I am focused on moving beyond and growing from this moment. Now, whether or not you choose to do that, that's on you. But for me, and for my peace, and for my sanity, and for the need for restful sleep, I am casting my hurt and my pain to the Lord. I am not allowing you to trigger me now, and I am trusting God to help me walk through this process of improved mental health, improved strength, and reliance on Him. And that my relationships, my current relationships, are better because I've let go of the past. All right, y'all. So thank you again for listening to today's episode. Of course, this podcast can be found everywhere where they are available. Of course, you can also subscribe to this podcast on YouTube as well. Search Living from Sunday, the number 2 Sunday pod on YouTube, and just subscribe and give us some comments. Let us know how well we are doing. All right. So until next week, y'all have a great day. Peace.